Welcome back, my students, to another episode of Comet Class. And in today's lesson, guys, we're going to be looking at Rick Remender and Wes Craig's Deadly Class Volume 4, Die For Me. And yeah, without further ado, let's jump right into the story. Let's go. So this story pretty much starts off with Marcus basically running for his life because Masterlin has actually just started the final freshman exams. Basically this test that takes place for 1 week where you're either a rat or a hunter. And yeah, you kind of have to just try staying alive. If you're a rat, and if you're a hunter, try to kill as many people as possible. So what ensues after this basically is just a total bloodbath. You know, people are just killing people left and right. Mark is actually able to start killing people as well because, as he says, it's not the first time he's actually killed somebody, and he's in a position right now where he has to kill in order to survive because everyone's coming after these people that are considered rats, which Marcus is one of them. And yeah, Marcus basically saves Petra from getting killed, which will kind of come back to bite him in the butt in the future in this volume, but we'll see. So Victor basically is teamed up with his boys basically, and they're just, you know, taking names, killing people and that. And it turns out that Shabnam actually sets up a plan with Victor and basically wants to team up with him to basically try to get the best grade possible. And as Shabnam said, as everyone was partying during the year, he's been getting the records of everybody that's a rat in the school, so he knows exactly who to take out, where their secret hiding places are, and he basically has weapons that he provides for Victor in exchange for working with him, or working for him, as you could say. And Victor actually, you know, takes up this offer, so yeah, Shabnam becomes like a major villain in this series and this arc. So yeah. So Petra, along with Marcus, basically shows off her skills to use types of poisons or chemicals. So using kind of like chemical warfare to attack the cheerleaders that were trying to kill her. And yeah, so Saya and Willie basically meet up with Billy and save him from getting killed by this woman, basically, this girl that had gotten kind of like almost killed by her boyfriend. And yeah, Billy basically decides to go off with Marcus and Petra instead of Willie and Saya, because he still doesn't trust him after Marcus told him about what Saya might be planning, which we'll see has a lot of validity at the end of this volume. And yeah, so Victor basically is going off on a killing spree. It's Shabnam and the girl, I forgot what her name is, that was with Marcus that told him that she was pregnant in the last volume, seem to be getting together at this point. And yeah, Shabnam basically reveals that he's kind of like a very good antagonist, that he has had a lot of things planned behind the scenes, so we'll see more of him and what he develops into in future volumes. But yeah, so Shabnam basically tells everybody that they need to go out and look for Marcus and his people because they need to kill as many people as possible to get good grades on their scores, their end of the year test. And yeah, basically Shabnam's a pretty messed up person and tells one of the people to kill his boyfriend, basically, in exchange for getting a good grade, so he's all to go do that mission for Shabnam. Now Willie and Saya are basically out trying to, you know, survive, and I'm not sure if they're rats. I don't think they're rats. I think they're actually hunters, which is why Billy didn't trust them. But we get to see that Saya basically takes on Willie's old crewmates, basically, because they're actually hunters, it seems, and they're trying to kill Willie and Saya. And Saya basically takes them out because Willie isn't able to really like pull the trigger on these guys until Saya's in a position where she is going to die, and Willie actually kills his own cousin, which we'll see later on really does affect him as a character. And yeah, it's pretty messed up. So Willie basically sees that Saya actually had a way to defend herself and could have taken out Willie's cousin by herself, but she actually forced Willie to kill his own cousin. This pretty much messes up with Willie's mind, and we'll see where that leads to. So Sly and Willie get called up to Master Lin's office. Master Lin basically tells them that if they do not find Marcus and take him and his people out, the people he's working with, such as Billy and Petra, that they're gonna go after their families and kill them off. So yeah, Master Lin is not messing around, and we're starting to see more of his darker side and what makes him the person that he is, and the headmaster of the school. So we get to see that Victor is basically going around just murdering people on his way to kill Marcus. Marcus is trying to run for his life, basically, with Petra and Billy, and eventually Billy takes on Victor, and we get this really cool fight scene, this interaction between them, and we get to learn a little bit about Victor's past, and that his mother and sisters were raped and killed, and basically his father kind of shunned him for not being strong enough to protect him because he was only a little kid when this happened. And Victor basically says he doesn't blame his dad but blames himself still because he can understand not being strong enough and having that shame with his family. So it's a really cool dynamic with Victor's character, and Victor is probably one of the most interesting characters that Rick Remender wrote in the story, and he's definitely going to have way more cool moments in the future and more development. So yeah, we get to see that Billy basically outsmarts Victor in a moment when they're in the alleyway, and basically is able to knock Victor out and get help from Marcus and Petra to get out of there. So yeah, so Billy basically goes with Marcus and basically is telling him that he's thinking about committing suicide, just ending his life right here, because of what is the point, what's the future for them when they're seeing how messed up just this first year's ending is. And Marcus basically tells them that they can go to Mexico, or they can go somewhere to where they don't have to go back to the school. All they have to do is survive and get out of here. So Billy agrees, and Petra as well, and they set off to just try to survive the week and then get out of there. So Shabnam, we get to see, is with that girl they call, I guess, the troll or something, and it turns out that he's getting a call from somebody, which we'll see who was in a little bit. But he basically says that a desperate rat is calling him for a favor, basically. And we get to see that Petra, Marcus, and Billy arrive in this abandoned house or something. And yeah, they're basically just talking with each other, kind of talking about what's happening right now, how they're going to deal with this situation. And eventually we get to see that Petra and Marcus and Billy are just talking about their experiences, and Petra reveals that she actually tried to date Victor when, they had first started coming to the school, I'm guessing. And yeah, eventually Marcus tells Billy that he kind of loves him as a friend. And it's a really fun scene, very funny scene with how Billy and Marcus interact with each other. But it's also showing the friendship that Marcus has with characters like Billy and Willie. So, and what happens to these two in this volume is pretty sad. But yeah, this is to show more of the actual friendship between these people. Marcus really cares for these people, and I really enjoyed that. So we get to see that, that character that Shabnam had talked to kill his boyfriend, basically talks to him and basically tries to get him to agree with him to go and take out Shabnam. So they go off to do that, and Victor is still after Marcus and basically tries to kill Marcus. He even jumps on the top of his car that Marcus is driving and basically tries to take him out. But eventually Marcus is able to shake off Victor. Victor seems to be caught by the cops, but we'll see that that's not the case. So eventually Marcus makes his way up to a rooftop, and this is where we're revealed to Willie basically, pointing a gun at Marcus. Now, we get to see that Petra basically gives us her entire backstory, which she didn't give to Marcus, but she gave to Billy in this scene, where she reveals that her father and mother basically became part of a satanic cult. Basically, even though they were Christians, they had fell to a satanic cult, and this kind of messed her father up. And basically, had this really messed up moment where she was forced to see her mother's eyes, basically, in a jar or something. And her father said, when you see someone die, that you never fear death ever again. And yeah, it's a pretty deep line, but it's pretty sick. So we get to see that, and we get to see that Marcus and Willie have this awesome conversation where it just details the friendship between Marcus and Willie. And Marcus basically tells Willie that they don't need to kill each other, and that when they first met each other and he had chosen to be Marcus's partner for that first mission that they had, when they were jumping off rooftops pretending to be Batman and Robin and stuff like that, he was his best friend. He is his best friend, and he basically convinces Willie that it's not the end, that we need to go somewhere and we need to start over. In 10 years time we won't even think about this, we'll laugh about it. things can always get better because Willie is actually willing to kind of like off himself the same thing as Billy was saying, because it's a pretty dark situation. You have people literally like hunting you down like an animal. You don't really come back from that. So Marcus says they need to get out and go to Mexico or something and just live out their lives, and eventually gets Willie to kind of like accept that. Now we just see that the boy that Shatnam had told to kill his boyfriend had convinced him seemingly to go and kill Shabnam, but it's revealed in a plot twist that he had talked to both of them, and his boyfriend basically didn't hesitate and killed the guy that Shabnam was talking to. And he gives this really cool line where he says that if Shabnam ever dares to, forget the promise that he gave him, he needs to remember what he just did to the man he loved. And, you would have to imagine, what he would do to someone that he hates. And, it was just an amazing moment. And it was really one of those plot twister, panels where you're just, like, shocked at what you just saw. So he'll definitely become part of Shabnam's crew in the future. Shabnam won't be going away anytime soon, guys. He's, like, literally, like, the main antagonist from this point forward. At least until where we are at right now in the comic, where things might change. But yeah, so Petra basically opens up a canister of, gas that she had created. I guess it's like a poisonous gas. And she locks Billy into the room. And this was revealed to where Petra was actually the person that Shabnam had received a call from. And Petra wanted a good grade, so she killed Billy in order to get it. And yeah, it's a pretty messed up scene. Billy really, begged for his life. But this is what Petra decided was good enough for her and the rest of the group, in killing Billy in exchange for everyone else surviving, which Marcus never would have agreed to and would have fought his way out of this situation. But Petra took the easy way out and killed one of their friends. And yeah, Petra will get what's coming to her in the future, in a future volume, guys. Don't worry about that. Yeah, but this was a messed up scene, and yeah, Billy basically gets murked. Now, Willie, is able to be convinced by Marcus not to kill himself, and this leads them to start heading out and kind of like walking with each other after they share a hug. And it's a pretty awesome moment, a pretty touching moment as well, because it's two friends coming together. And as Willie had said to Marcus, he does think that Marcus was right with Saya kind of like playing both of them, and that he doesn't think that she cared about either one of them. And we'll see if that has any truth to it in future volumes, but as far as now, I can definitely agree with that I do think a lot of this had to do with, wanting to feel loved and stuff like that, not like actual love in that. So, they basically walk away, and while that's happening, Petra looks at Billy's eyes, basically says the same thing that her father said, and that she says that she agrees with what he said about when you see someone die, that you don't fear death anymore. Which was a pretty messed up scene, because Petra was not like her father, but it seems in this moment she gave in finally to what her father was and her mother was. It was a pretty sad moment, because Billy was their friend, and Petra seemed like a really cool girl, and you didn't really expect her to do this. So Billy is dead, and Willie and Marcus basically are heading out. They finally agree that they're going to try surviving this and go to Mexico and live a new life. And this is where we hear a gunshot, basically, and Willie's dead, and Victor is the one that has killed him. And yeah, it's a pretty messed up scene. Marcus basically runs for his life. He can't believe that Willie is dead. Victor's chasing him, shooting him, like crazy, basically trying to get a shot on his body. And it's just so, messed up, because, Marcus doesn't even get a chance to actually mourn the death of his friend. And this is where Marcus starts remembering, all the times he had with Billy and Willie, and he doesn't even know that Billy is dead yet. So now he has both of his friends dead, and he does think of Maria, and we'll find out Maria's dead in probably the next volume, I believe. And yeah, so Marcus basically runs out of the place. He goes through the exit, and this is where Saya basically stabs Marcus through the chest. At least that's what it seems like. And she basically tells Marcus something that we can't understand. And she basically, takes the sword out, leaves Marcus on the ground bleeding out. And Marcus sees Saya basically with tears in her eyes, and he starts remembering his family, and basically seems to be going out off into, the next world, to heaven or hell, whatever it is that he will go to. At least that's what's implied, that he's dying. And yeah, that's the end of Volume 4, Die For Me. So that was Deadly Class Volume 4, Die For Me, guys. It was an amazing volume. To be honest with you, I've always considered this to be my favorite story arc in the entire Deadly Class series. While I'm doing this retrospective, full-on retrospective of each volume in the series, I was expecting maybe things to be a little different, looking in hindsight. But I do think after going through the material for this video to make it, that this arc still is my favorite. It has everything. It has the emotion. We get to see the character dynamics between Marcus, Petra, Billy, Willie, and Saya. We also get to see their relationships and kind of like how they're breaking apart, like Saya and Willie. You get to see Willie actually come full circle and, kind of like get to the point where he was able to kill somebody, but at the same time it kind of destroyed him. It shows that Willie was never really that type of person. He wasn't ever supposed to become that type of person. At the end, he just wanted to go live a life in Mexico with Marcus and just, enjoy their lives. And it's sad that him and Billy are dead, with Billy, dying because he trusted Petra, who was his friend in a way, and she killed him. So yeah, there was a lot of messed up stuff. Victor killing Willie is definitely going to be a huge plot point from every volume from this point on. And yeah, it's just interesting. Overall, Deadly Class Volume 4, Die For Me, is an amazing volume. I'll have a link in the description down below to go check out it on Comixology legally. I can't say how much I recommend Deadly Class. It's my favorite comic of all time, at least at this point that I've read. And it's one that I can't wait to cover the entire series of. So until next video when I cover Volume 5 Carousel, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you check out my other videos. The playlist for Deadly Class full-on retrospective is going to be at the end of this video, as well as The Amazing Spider-Man by Nick Spencer and Grant Morrison's JLA as well. Go check out all my videos, because I'm going to be uploading a ton more series in the future. And yeah, until the next video, guys, God bless you, and until the next lesson, keep on reading those comments.
I am who I'm meant to be. I am who I'm meant to be. Over and out again. My future needed clarity, so I could see how you react.